Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Hi Didi, what's up?
Fall is in the air.
It's getting cold. Yesterday was so freezing.
Yes.
It was like the first time in the season that it actually was cold.
Yep.
Right?
This is.
It's always like catches me by surprise.
Well, you should see the signs. The trees are in foliage state.
Yeah, this week is like peak foliage. The reds, the yellows, the green. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
The best time around here.
And it is the Jewish high holidays. It's
Yeah.
Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Shana Tova, and
Shana Tova, Mal Chatima Tova to those that are listening.
Yes.
Wishing you a much better year for everyone.
And I think as Israelis, we are now forever scarred with the coming of Yom Kippur because this is the anniversary. Well, this week was the anniversary for October 7th. This was this Monday.
Which was actually that on the Jewish calendar. It was later in the year. It was after. It was in Simchat Torah last year. But
but still, it is this is time for remembrance, and I think this is this episode. I think we should kind of dedicate for the year that have passed.
The year that have passed, everything we learned, the year that changed all of us.
Primarily you, because you were
probably but not primarily me. Everyone.
I stayed my course very much so. This is the sad part of being libertarian cynic. You always discover the government sucks. You always discover that people are stupid and mean, and it's not even fun to say I told you so. But it is kind of painful for me that everybody else, I stood my ground, and basically I found myself as the left marker of the Israeli community in our part of the world. Because
there's still some that have those.
Yes, but
crazy.
By the way, for anybody,
not connected to Earth beliefs, but you are kind of like you stayed with your own beliefs. Now I moved.
Yes.
To your side.
You moved way past me.
I don't think so.
You moved way past me. Yes.
So
which by the way, I don't blame you, because when you're an optimist and you have a rude awakening and you believe, so here's my recap of the year, and then I'll let you do your recap of the year, and you can tell me where I'm wrong or what am I seeing.
You're always wrong.
Of course, I'm always wrong. But from my perspective, I look at this year, and here are things that I did not expect, and here are things I did expect. So the fact that support for Israel was very loud for about a month and then wind down dramatically, I expected that one. The fact that now everybody, because we suffered a humiliating pain, women were raped, kids were slaughtered, babies were put into ovens and things like that. Now everybody wants to do the math back of saying, yeah, you also killed children. And they count the same way that they count an 18-year-old or a 16-year-old with an AK, the same way they count of somebody sticking a baby into an oven.
So that's something you expected to happen?
I expected that. I completely expected that because
it always happened.
Because it always happens. So the rabbi in in Rosh Hashanah said, if, let's say, one of the rabbis would come from 200 years ago and land today in Cambridge, he wouldn't be surprised, because you know what is the only constant of life?
Change.
No, anti-Semitism. People hate the Jews now for 5,000 years, and it's not going to change. People have hated the Jews. There's a whole book about hating the Jews. And this is just
a bunch of books about hating the Jews.
Now it basically allowed closet anti-Semites to come out of the closet and become basically out of the closet anti-Semites. I was expecting
just become Palestine supporters. That's how they call themselves right now.
It doesn't matter how they call themselves or things like that. I don't want to put it into politics. I want to put it in the individual. Remember what I said when I was talking about it in the big...
But the movement gives them a shield and a way to legitimize the hate.
No. It's just the fact that they sit in their own echo chamber and feel comfortable being anti-Semites. The fact that they blame the movement and blame the other parts, that doesn't matter. Things I did not see coming was how far and corrupt the blindness has come. Seeing university heads sitting there and talking about context in a university when I can't call a fatty, and trust me, if somebody's a fatty, somebody should tell them that and they should go on a diet. But the fact that I can't call a fatty in Harvard and be kicked out, but I can say kill the Jews, and somebody says it depends on the context, and then it comes out that that person was basically very much a nomination of a fig leaf based on the amount of plagiarism she committed, the problems that she had with Roland Fry. It was very clear that she had very clear agendas on getting rid of academics that don't follow her edicts. That was a big surprise for me, because at least I believed that there's a desire for excellence somewhere. I haven't seen it since we came to Massachusetts. I have seen zero desire for excellence, but I was hoping that it's somewhere, it's hidden. But it kind of made it very, very clear to me that there is no desire for excellence. The desire for excellence moved to Florida and Texas, or is imported by immigrants. So I discovered that the halls of academia are full of people that decide to cheat and lie and keep themselves blind. This was a discovery for me. The other discovery for me was the fact that people don't want to face the truth, even when the truth hits them in the face. I always like to believe that there's some level of blindness with people, but 200 ballistic rockets fly into a sovereign country from another country, and people are still having a discussion in the UN as if these things are okay. It's okay if you're a terrorist group. It's okay even after the initial attack. You know what I can say? Even the initial attack, the April attack that...
Are you talking about Iran? Are you talking about Hezbollah? Why don't you give some context?
I'm talking about Iran. The second Iran assault.
So first happened in April. For them, it was a retaliation of Israel bombing allegedly the Syrian
embassy,
the Iranian embassy in Syria, and we assassinated one of Hezbollah's leaders at the time, and they claim that it's an attack of their sovereignty, even though it's not the embassy. It was one of the intelligence.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter what it was. It was
a legitimate attack on a terrorist that had blood on his hands.
You see, you're already taking the political Israeli side. I'm trying to describe it as if I'm Joe Schmo sitting and watching football, and then I go over to see something else. I see Israel bombing the Iranian embassy in Syria, Iran retaliating, Israel closing the deal, and everybody's okay with this. The 200 ballistic missiles, that is a completely different equation, completely different discussion.
It just happened about a month ago as retaliation of Iran for the assassination of Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, and a bunch of Hezbollah leadership.
Yeah. Now, from my perspective, the fact that everybody in the world basically said, no, Israel shouldn't retaliate. This is the essence of the problem of the Middle East conflict. You have a bully that's been throwing rocks at basically somebody for a very long time. And every time somebody wants to retaliate, everybody says, no, you can't.
No, don't.
You can't. And this is something that if somebody's first time understanding the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So here's a short reminder. Israel was created with about 7 countries attacking it simultaneously.
Yeah, the day that Israel announced its...
Yes, even before that, since the UN announced, the second the UN announced that Israel is going to be created, the Arab population there started by massacring civilians.
Similar to the October 7th.
Similar to the October 7th, they started immediately killing civilians on the road to Jerusalem. So every truck or car that went...
completely cut them from supplies and making people in Jerusalem starve.
And this was under basically the
British mandate. The Brits still were in control of the country and completely decided to disengage and let the Arab population in 1947 do whatever they want.
Yes.
Cutting supplies to the Jews living in Jerusalem, letting them starve.
Yes. So this was point one. Then the 7 countries attack. After that, and the fact that Jordan owned the West Bank and Egypt owned Gaza.
After the war at 1948 ended,
yes. And nobody talks about
the Palestinians in West Bank belonged to Jordan at the time, and those in Gaza were under Egyptian control.
Yes, and nobody talks about the fact that the second Gaza was under Egyptian rule. There was something called Fadayun, and they killed people going from Tel Aviv to Eilat. Anytime somebody was trying to go...
nobody talks about the fact that Egypt never wanted to have them. Why didn't they accept the refugees?
Yes, exactly. So nobody accepted the refugees. Nobody took them in.
Because nobody wanted them.
Nobody wanted them.
Nobody talks about the fact that those that were in Jordan created a huge problem for the king over there, and he expelled them.
Yes, that's the 1970 Black September. The fact that after Israel offered multiple times for Jordan to take back the West Bank, and they didn't want it back.
Oh, that's the last thing they want.
They never wanted it back.
It will destabilize the kingdom forever.
And in 1970, the Jordanians slaughtered the Palestinians and drove them into Lebanon. And nobody talks about that either.
And what happened next? They came to Lebanon and started the civil war and destabilized Lebanon.
Yes.
And the country that was a majority Christian lost its entire Christian population. All fled out because it became inhabitable.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into the Lebanon war and what we did and what they did, but the fact is that eventually Lebanon became a Shiite governed, Hezbollah governed.
From being the Paris of the Mediterranean.
Exactly. So the fact is that nobody talks about the fact that Israel had to deal with terrorism over and over. When kids in Cambridge shout Intifada, do they understand that what they're talking about is slaughter of Jews? Basically, if somebody would shout pogrom, pogrom, would that also depend on context? Maybe it should.
Maybe they should start saying that.
Yeah. Well, they are saying that.
Yeah, they are. Intifada is basically pogrom.
Yes.
No, it's not civilian resistance, and it's a violent resistance. It's about the time that everybody knows when you shout Intifada, it means killing Jews.
Yeah. So
open season.
And the fact that, and this is another awakening that happened, and this is something I don't know if I'm happy or unhappy, but I expected it to happen at some point, is that the American Jews suddenly discovered that they cannot say, no, these Israelis are bad. It's only Netanyahu who's bad. It's only the Ben Gvir who's bad. They discovered that they are being lumped. All the people that even supported BDS discovered that they are lumped together.
They start saying the anti-Zionist.
They can say whatever they want, but the fact is that and this is what your friend Einat Wilf was saying, that there's always a desire for the next pound of flesh to be taken. And
Jews will always give the pound of flesh to be considered not a Jew, to be assimilated.
Yeah, but the fact is that you will always...
You will never be assimilated.
You'll never be assimilated.
So forget about it.
You'll always be hated. And when the trains come to take you to Auschwitz, nobody will ask what you said, on what side of the political agenda you were. You can say whatever there were German Jews that supported Hitler. They rode the trains exactly like everybody else.
After Kristallnacht, you know that in Times Square, there were riots to support Hitler.
Yes.
So why are we surprised?
We shouldn't be. So this is the kind of the massive rise of anti-Semitism is a fact. And I did not expect it to... Even John Oliver, who's not on our side in any way, shape, or form, admitted that some of the content that is sent by inside big enterprises is very borderline. It is very anti-Semite, and people raise their brows and say, you shouldn't be able to say this. And that, I think, for me, is one of the biggest things. The fact that this event happened, I applaud President Biden for lighting a candle, saying the words. I applaud him for really feeling the pain. But the fact is that most of his party is very clearly anti-Semite. One of the things that I have seen, at least, is that people like Jamal Bowen and Cory Bush lost their positions because it was very clear that at least they don't understand that they're voters. If you're in New York, you can't be a blatant anti-Semite representing White Plains and think that you'll be elected.
Can I say now something quickly about that? If you're in Massachusetts, go vote. Early voting is now happening. I don't care what you vote for president. It doesn't matter. If you care about anti-Semitism, vote for John Deaton to replace Elizabeth Warren. He was in our home last week. The guy is a veteran. He is pro-Israel. He is a moderate. He's not a Trump supporter. And he is smart, capable. Go check his website now. The media doesn't cover him. Nobody knows that there is an alternative to the Jews hater, Elizabeth Warren, that has been terrible, has been voted with every possible vote in the Senate against Israel. We can change this. There is a wonderful alternative here. Please educate yourself about John Deaton to the Senate. Thank you.
Yep. So this has been kind of my awakening and this awakening. And as I said, I don't want to talk about politics. I want to talk about individuals. I want to talk about the individual that goes to Colombia and feels chased out because of his religion. The fact that this is now a consideration. We have 2 kids that are going to college, and we look
in 2 years.
In 2 years,
You still have a little bit of time.
Yes.
Start looking at it.
Yes.
Yeah, the juniors.
And anti-Semitism in campus is a criteria for us for selection of a university.
Yeah, Leah just did. We had a college fair in Newton North, and Leah took the list and asked ChatGPT to check if those colleges had an encampment, how big Hillel is. Hillel is the Jewish club, and how much if there is an SJP in campus. SJP is the Muslim club, which is supported by Qatar. It's basically a Hamas Muslim Brotherhood chapter in the United States. If you go read about SJP, if you have it in your college or your kids are going to a college with that SJP, this is the source of the craziness we're seeing around.
Yeah. Now, the thing I hate most about all the change that has happened is when I landed in the US, my goal was to never, ever, ever open Ynet ever again. Ynet is like the Israeli news channel. I succeeded. I didn't open Ynet for
years.
A decade. I didn't watch CNN. I didn't watch anything. You were like haunting CNN and all that stuff when COVID happened.
I also, a little bit, maybe
during COVID, you were watching
Yeah.
news. I did not watch the news.
Yeah, you're sports news and
Yes,
nothing.
The thing
And
I
YouTube
cared,
shit.
Exactly. I cared about Felger and Maz. I cared about Belichick ruining the Patriots. I cared about the fact that the Bruins went up and then down.
And
then
stuff in tech from time to time.
And stuff in tech all the time. So one of the things, by the way, if you are in tech and you do not consume podcasts, you do not do your job. So this is an important thing. This treated as like a public service announcement. 2 things. Watch AWS reInvent YouTube videos, always amazing. Podcasts, like the Freakonomics ones. You need to learn. This is the best way to get educated while doing stuff. So,
in general, mass media is not going to make you educated.
Mass media is not going to make you... Exactly.
Invest in podcasts, for sure.
The last year, I've consumed so much CNN, so much Fox. And by the way, the fact that you can't get the facts out of a single network.
The fact that CNN, which used to be the thing we would watch to get the truth. You remember, like when CNN started in Israel in the first war, with the first Iraq war, like we were consuming it, like with news, and it was like factual. At least we believed so. Maybe not.
It was
that for me, like the most mind-blowing thing is how much the media is corrupt. Forget about the academia, the corruption of the mass media conglomerates. This is mind-blowing. Like the fact that they lie to people to the face shamelessly again and again and again. It's wow.
Remind me what your job is.
Yeah, I'm in marketing, but there is this infomercial stuff. I mean, the media is lying to you constantly. So you want to get the news.
Did you
don't go there.
Did you watch Wag the Dog?
Yeah, life is Wag the Dog. Absolutely.
By the way, another public service announcement. If you have never seen the movie Wag the Dog.
And thank you for smoking.
Which,
by the way, apparently Elon Musk was part of producing it.
Ignore Lital's
together with
Elon Musk.
That's part of the thing. I'm a huge Elon fan. That's a change.
Yes. So,
and we can talk about it. Free speech is important.
Free speech is important. Go watch Wag the Dog and understand how much.
And thank you for smoking.
And understand how much mass media basically lies to you all the time.
Yes.
But that was a given. So I always assumed.
We knew that, but the level and the bluntness.
The fact that, I think Anton once said, that the fact that now I need to watch Fox News to get the truth is a very sad moment. You know that CNN, when we were starting to watch it, Tucker Carlson was on CNN because they wanted to balance out Fareed Zakaria and Christian Aminpour with people like Tucker Carlson because they knew that they needed both sides.
Yeah.
Now they've over-rotated to one side, and Fareed Zakaria finds himself in my position. I thought that was the nice, intermediate marker, and suddenly I find myself as the rightist marker. You said, how come people don't understand what free speech actually means? And this has been, by the way, for me, the biggest challenge and interest is what happened to free speech. Because our desire to be inclusive, and it's a very important thing. By the way, one of the things that I love about moving to the US was the fact that, especially Massachusetts, there is a true desire to be inclusive. Not if you're a Jew, but include everybody.
No, if you're having right-wing opinions, it's inclusive of the right opinions and the right things. That's what you start finding out. It's inclusive as long as you follow
the rules
and the beliefs.
But it is.
If you think that there are only two biological genders and you say it out loud, no, you're not inclusive. You will not be included.
That is a recent thing. But I think the fact that Karl Popper, one of the philosophers that we were discussing when we were discussing how science works, has what is called the intolerance to intolerance paradox. He says that the tolerance should be open to everything besides intolerance. And Nassim Taleb also was describing this, is that this is why democracies must outlaw undemocratic parties to prevent the democratic rise of Nazism in Germany and the likes. Because you will always, freedom of speech continuously gets eroded by intolerance. And
it gets eroded by saying some things are basically not okay to say. You cannot say them, like you said. You cannot say somebody's fat.
Yes, and I think this is the important part of going back to the
only thing that should be stopped is real violent instigation. Everything else, and even that.
No, so I think one of our Supreme Court justices said something very, very smart. He said, you can't yell fire in a theater, in a packed theater. I think it was Marshall Thurgood. Producer Dave, you're the guy with the law degree.
Thurgood Marshall.
Thurgood Marshall, yes.
The research department is on it, Didi.
Yes.
Hold on, stand by.
Yes, but this is one of those things. Thurgood Marshall, I think, was the one that said that. I could be wrong, but the fact is that that was the foundation of free speech protection. That you can't instigate, you can't have hate speech, which I truly believe that you can't. But I think that if the universities want to be considered not indoctrination camps for our think, like communism, they need to come back to the fact that people can actually have an intelligent discussion in them. And CNN, if they ever want to be back considered a real media outlet, they need to bring back Tucker Carlson. And by the way,
that is the thing about diversity. Like, diversity has become obsessed about some aspects of your identity, like race, color, gender,
and not even that.
And we if you go and look, we had an episode about DEI and how it should be replaced with pluralism, because that is the thing. Inclusiveness is all about being open to different positions.
So my bad. It was Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Sorry, you're interrupting me.
Yeah.
Just cutting my line of thinking.
Okay.
My point is, I found out that it's a lie. DEI was a lie. It's not about inclusiveness at all. It's not pluralism. You cannot have a different opinion. You need to be part of everyone's opinion. And that is going back to those Jews that feel a need to belong and go against Israel, become anti-Zionist because they think that they will not be part of the society if they don't.
Yep.
Because this is the way society now works. Now, I think we need to turn to me a little bit.
Okay, sure.
So, yes, it was a big awakening. October 7th was kind of, it was an awakening because I think everyone in each and every generation, you want to think that we're living in the future and we're not in the past. And life is different now. And hate is gone, and people are better, and we learned from the past. And the awakening is what you're saying that you always knew, is that this is bullshit. We don't live in the future. The past is always hunting and coming back. Nothing has changed. People are people, and things are the same. And 2 days ago, October 9th, was the 83 anniversary to a day that actually is not well known for many Jews. It was the beginning of the Holocaust of the Romanian Jews. It was Sukkot, and Jews were at that day evicted from their homes in Bessarabia, Bukovina, those highly populated with Jews areas in Romania and Bratislava, in Romania and Hungary. People don't know about it because it wasn't done by the Nazis. It was done by the Romanian regime, which was an autonomy under the Nazi controllers. And I saw a post on Facebook with pictures of, the people that were deported from their homes at that day, tens of thousands of people, and they started walking to a river called the Donetsk, and most of them were forced to cross this river. Most of them died through that. Most of them didn't know how to swim. It was cold. In Simchat Torah, the end of Sukkot, it was chilly. I heard the stories. I learned about that from my grandma on a daily basis. She lived through that. She told us that in Sukkot Eve, they came to their home. And the fact that she came from an extremely rich family, extremely rich. At the age of 5, she had private tutors teaching her German and Russian and math. They had servants. They were very well known and very well connected in the community, and it didn't help them. And her grandma died and they had to wait until they could bury her body. I live this every day of my life because she made sure I know this story. I know that you are the same.
Yep.
Maybe you heard less because your grandparents were saving you from the daily stories. But you know that my grandma was on a mission to tell it on a daily basis, that she survived that at the age of 5. And my aha is that that's life. And we should know it. And my kids should know it. And the next generation should know it. And part of the problem, specifically my awakening, during the last year, I got very close, and that's the silver lining. I didn't know that many people in the Jewish community here. And during this year, I became extremely close with a lot of Jews. You know, the Israeli community and the American Jewish community don't tend to mix that much. Like, we're a little bit like water and oil. We don't mix well. We Sabras, you know, not a good fit always. But I had a realization that when you're an Israeli, you understand deep inside of you that those things can happen. Yes, we were shocked on October 7th, but immediately Israelis jumped into this mode of, this is never happening again. We're protecting ourselves. We are correcting the course of the stupidity that we had, believing that this cannot happen. We cannot live in this type of denial. That's the world. That's who we are dealing with. We're dealing with genocidal people that want us to be gone. And this will not happen again. Like the fact that tens of thousands of people were deported from their homes and killed in the water of a river, just slaughtered because they didn't have the way to defend themselves. That should not happen again. And Israel knows it. That's the reason for Israel to exist. And in the past year, you've seen this tremendous course correction in Israel. And I watch it in awe, how the IDF was in the lowest possible point on October 8th, to a place that was shocking, and how it is now back again, the controlling, the one that dictates the rules of the game, and being really respectful for the capabilities, for the brains, for the bravery, for the ingenuity that is not alike anything. Think about the pager operation. How much time, dedication, thoughtfulness. The crazy fact that Hezbollah paid Israel for those pages. This is amazing.
Yep.
What more Jewish than that, right? That's amazing. And the fact that the administration in the US and Western allies don't understand that if Israel falls, the whole West falls. That Israel is fighting for the civilizations, the order that we know, and that you telling Israel not to bomb nuclear facilities of Iran makes you so weak and makes the world see it and makes us on the brink of a World War III, because Xi Jinping knows that you will do nothing if he walks into Taiwan or swims into Taiwan.
Yep.
And Putin already knows it. Hell, he did it in Ukraine. And that's the reality. The reality is that you cannot be weak, and you should not be weak. And you can always, all this idea that you can solve things with diplomacy. Diplomacy comes after
you win the war.
You win the war. When you have the upper hand, if you come to diplomacy before that, you're weak.
Diplomacy. This is the thing that there is so people don't learn history here. That's what we discovered, that the school here,
especially not around Islam and the history. Stop
with this, because here's the thing that
the kids don't know anything about it.
Let's start about things that are agreed upon. Does people stop talking about Neville Chamberlain? You know that.
He's evil now, right?
No. You mistake it with Winston Churchill. You see, you're
Chamberlain. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah,
This is the thing.
Yeah, learn about Chamberlain, of course, and why he caused World War II.
Our kids did not know. So one of our kids did not know who Winston Churchill was, because the school didn't teach that.
There was a strike at the week that they were supposed to learn it.
It doesn't matter. The fact that this is not learned when they learned World War II a couple of times means that the school...
They didn't learn it a couple of times, they learned it once.
The school is criminal. The fact that somebody can learn World War II and not know who Winston Churchill is criminal. Next. The fact that they don't know who Neville Chamberlain is even worse, because this is the part that I think a lot of the liberal people don't want to talk about, is that when you negotiate, there's times when negotiation doesn't work. There are times when there's nobody to negotiate with. For example, right now, there's this yelling for ceasefire. Ceasefire with whom? Ceasefire with whom?
With Sinwar, that for months we don't even know if he's alive or dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other part
and
is,
for what?
And with Hezbollah's there's this. Hezbollah was lying about the 21-day hiatus. Even they didn't want this. They were making fun. This is a little bit of the way that the misunderstanding that the desire to have a conversation. I cannot have a conversation with somebody that wants to beat me up. I can't. I can decide to run. I can decide to fight. But these are my choices. And the
belief that you can have an agreement with a genocidal regime like Iran that is lying as a way of controlling its people, and believe that they will be truthful when signing an agreement, that's nuts. Not knowing what Hudna is. Hudna is basically 10 years of ceasefire. It's a very known concept in Islam of 10 years of quiet, that in the meantime, you prepare to attack your enemy. We've heard the term Hudna with Hamas. For them, it's buying time to kill you after. It's engraved in, and they call it, ceasefire is Hudna, that's what they call it. So you go check what it is.
So this is where I think we need to go back to the basics of understanding.
Well, we can have a lot of more conversations about that.
Yes. Now, I think as we're getting close to time, I think we should give like a 2-minute view of how the world looks through our eyes a year later.
Okay.
So
you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
No, I want you to go first because I can go on a filibuster.
I am extremely optimistic lately. It was a terrible year, and I see the following. New order can finally come to place. I think Israel is leading it, and the U.S. should stay away and just let them do the job. I'll explain. When Israel is strong, the more moderate voices in the Middle East can become stronger. The UAE is trying to do it. Saudi is walking toward that. They are all the enemies of Iran. They're Sunnis. They see the threat from the extreme Islam, and they're fighting it. And they have seen in the past year, after October 7th, when October 7th was a terrible day, they have seen the strength of Israel, especially recently, when Israel has been emboldened. It's attacking Hezbollah, completely dismantling it, and now being ready to go after Iran, and hopefully they will go after Iran, which they should. For the moderate Islamic countries, it means there is a strong ally we can rely on. They don't trust U.S. to rely on. They don't think if they're attacked by Iran, the U.S. will help. So knowing that Israel would is wonderful for them. I think if anything, and I'm optimistic, not because I'm a peacenik now back again, but because I actually am pragmatic and I see how from war and destruction opportunities can arise. I can see this new line of deals, peace deals can come up between Israel and Saudi, which was supposed to happen before October 7th, but if they would have happened, they were weak. Actually, now they can be stronger without Hezbollah if we don't let Hezbollah gain strength again, and if we completely eliminate the nuclear plans of Iran, and that's a huge challenge. But there is an opportunity, and I hope people don't chicken and actually go the whole way, and it will be better for the world. We can even see the plans that I read about making an alliance with India, starting oil line between India through Saudi, through Haifa to Greece. Tons of prosperity that can come to the world with a new axis between US, India, Saudi, Israel, moderate regimes. So I'll leave you with that, because war is tough. The world is very tough for Jews waking up to anti-Semitism. I think we can have a new wave of stability and prosperity if we get rid of the extreme regime of the Ayatollahs in Iran. And this is what we need to do. That's the silver lining. We got the opportunity to actually do it, which we didn't have before October 7th. So if anything, the sacrifice of those that died, that are hostages, that were wounded throughout this horrible war, would be that there will be a better world after that. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. You're optimistic. I'm pessimistic. Surprise. My view of the world is that Israel's first month in Gaza, or first 3 months in Gaza, were completely justified. The incompetence of establishing a civil regime. It doesn't matter who's going to be ahead of it, but make sure that you own the supply lines. Make sure that people get the aid. The fact that if you would control the aid, you'd be able to see who's a terrorist and who's not. You were able to stop the blindness, because I'm not a big believer in the fact that when everybody says innocent people here, innocent stop. When Naama Levy was taken through the streets by her hair, 6,000 women and children were yelling for her to be raped. So I'm not a big fan.
No,
I'm not a big fan of the population there, but I think missing the opportunity to re-educate and not alienate is a big mistake. Because right now
it will take years.
It doesn't matter.
You cannot do it through war.
But you can't ignore it. Ignoring it is how we got here.
Things needs to change for sure.
So right now, we need to win this war with food and not bombs. No,
Peacenik.
I'm not a peacenik. So there's 3 wars going on, actually 4 wars going on right now, maybe even 5, that we need to stop and deal with. One is the insane crime in the Arab Israeli population that we ignore and let go on. This is a problem with the rule of law, and I don't believe in neglecting the rule of law.
Okay.
So
you're opening a lot of new topics.
But that's the stuff that the war started. So we need to finish them. Somebody needs to deal with the rampant crime in the Israeli Arab population. Second, the stuff that's happening in the West Bank are criminal. And the fact that the Supreme Court is ignoring it because of the fact that Bibi was threatening to depose them is criminal too. So the crime in the Arab population, the West Bank, needs to be solved. Gaza, I think, needs to go into a very different stage. And if we continue to let the army lead this and not actually lead this, they'll continue doing what they do because the army is a broadsword, and it's not a scalpel. We've hit enough with the broadsword. It's enough. Somebody needs to change the plans. And you know that I'm not a liberal. What we're doing with Hezbollah is what we needed to do on October 8th last year.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we were cowards and the Biden administration stopped us.
We were said not to.
It doesn't matter what we were said, or the fact that we chose not to and let the entire north of Israel be devastated by rocket attacks is going to be a price that we're going to pay for years, because all this ingenuity, all this brain power, all this stuff, eventually somebody was going to wake up, because right now every single friend of mine is asking how to do reload.
Yeah, that is going
to be a big problem. So unless we solve out of this all the ingenuity that helped win this war, and last but not least is the war with Iran. So from my perspective, Sinwar won his thing because the Middle East is in flames. When Karine Jean-Pierre, what's her name is, when she talks about stuff she knows nothing of, about a fear of global war, there's a reason why John Kirby replaced her at some of these briefings. There is a global war, and the fact that
absolutely, we're in a global war.
We are in a global war, so that's a problem. The other thing that really irks me and makes me look at the world in a very bad way, the Macron in France came out and stated a whole bunch of stuff anti-Israel in the same day that a Jewish lady was raped and swastikas were drawn on her skin. And the fact that he is able to come out when his country is in such a shit show and say anything about Israel is a problem. The fact that he is, put your house in order. And Germany and France, Germany doesn't, when we were talking about the Holocaust, there's tons of Israeli Holocaust jokes about Germans and the trains coming on time. The trains don't come on time in Germany. If this is not a big wake-up call for the Germans, they need to wake themselves up, because they are a mess. And because they've been doing, saying all the good stuff outside, but have not dealt with any weapon shipments and doing a silent embargo. This is the real problem, that the world right now is in the Neville Chamberlain state of World War II.
Yeah, the West is in the Neville Chamberlain kind of, we don't want escalation. You don't want an escalation, we'll create an escalation.
Exactly.
That's the reality.
The reality is,
it's like your worst enemy is escalation. No, your worst enemy
is your enemy.
Is
the lines have been drawn.
The world war that is ahead of us.
The lines have been drawn, and you can decide if you want to deal with this.
The way to de-escalate is be strong.
That I don't know. I don't do office politics, but as I said, the fact is that the lines have been drawn, and somebody needs to wake up and see them, because right now there is denial. And by the way, when I talk about the U.S., we talk about Biden and Kamala and Trump. Trump is an isolationist. He's very much the presidency in the U.S. that allowed for the World War because of the isolationism. So I'm not very optimistic, because one side is an apologistic and the other one's an isolationist. So we're a little bit in a mess.
Well,
so that's why I am not very optimistic.
Okay. We will see. Well, a year from now, we'll talk about it again and
Yes.
see where we are. I'm
Cool.
sure we'll be surprised, and for good and bad stuff.
Yep.
But we wish you all
We'll have driving kids. We'll have driving kids.
By then, for sure. They will be driving a month from now.
Yes.
Less than that.
Scary.
Well, thank you. The Didi and Lital Show is a weekly podcast. Please rate and review us wherever you
Yes.
get your podcast. And if you want to be on the show, reach out to Didi or to Lital on LinkedIn. See you. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.